Hello, everyone. I'm Justin. I'm joined by my brother Jeremy. Welcome to the Brothers Talk Tech podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about autopilot, its general um, impacts it's going to have on our society, how it works, more importantly, and we're going to be just discussing some of the new things that have been emerging from the automotive world in terms of self-driving cars. For to kick us off, I think I'll start by explaining the hardware. So there's a couple of systems that all are generally combined together to make a car self-driving, but Tesla has began to eliminate some of those systems in interest of in a variety interest of a variety of things, but mainly probably because it's cheaper, and they found it's just not necessary to have all this fancy tech when cameras do the trick. Spoiler alert. What for starters, we have sonar that all cars use whenever you like have a backing up system, whenever you have the car like beeping at you when you're about to hit something, like reverse cameras and stuff like that. That's a sonar system. Basically, it just like sends out a little sound wave that's outside of our frequency of hearing, which reflects off of an object and then bounces back, and they measure the time in between the wave being sent out and it bouncing back and being received by the other device in there that like listens to it.
Really?
And
I thought
yeah.
sonar was only used like underwater.
So it that is true. So the what I was gonna was gonna as the drawback of sonar, and the reason that sonar is not really used for anything other than like lane change assist and reverse cameras is that it has very short range in the air. It works much better underwater just because it travels. Obviously, I mean submarines, everything uses it in underwater, but it doesn't really have the ability to help much in self-driving cars, and it's really only was used in like the early stages of like Teslas would use it, but they're moving away from using sonar in towards only cameras, which we're going to get to in a moment. Then we have the second system, which is radar. Like we said, sonar is very good for like identifying where objects are that are close to you. Radar is good at identifying objects that are far away from you. However, radar can't do things like determine what something is. Like it can't tell the difference between a car, little sign in the road. It can't, or a cone or something. It can just tell that there is something there. So it becomes yeah, kind of like not ideal for many situations because of that. Were you gonna say something?
No, well, I mean, I'm just thinking of like radar detectors. I'm assuming those work a similar way where they just like detect the car and then wait a few seconds or a certain amount of
Mm-hmm.
time to detect it at a different s-
Well,
spot.
yeah, so like I mean basically like radar, the way that radar works is much like sonar, but it uses radio waves. So it sends
Yeah.
out a radio wave. I have to kill a bug, sorry. Oh, I got it. Sends out a radio wave and measures the amount of time it takes it for it to come back. And benefits of it are is it can cut through fog and like haze and whatever. It has good range. But like I said, drawbacks are it doesn't know what anything is. It can just like kind of like get a general idea of like the objects around, which is a good thing to have. And it's which we're gonna get at. Like there's some like freak accidents that Teslas have been having that if had it been equipped with some sort of radar system, it might have avoided that. Um, but now you might so there's another technology called LiDAR, which instead of using radio waves, it uses lasers. And we actually have LiDAR sensors on our phones. This little thing right
Okay.
here is a LiDAR sensor.
May have
Yeah,
told me.
it is used. So on the phones, it's used for things like augmented reality and used like for like 3D mapping, if you ever seen those like scanning the room type things. But on the cars, the problem with it is that the systems are extremely expensive, but they have to sit on the roof and it's like a bunch of cameras. If you look at the Waymo taxi cars, those have LiDAR systems on top of them, and that's why they have those huge bulky things. They kind of look like those Google Street View cars because they have just like this like these like protruding cameras. I'll throw a picture up on the screen. But they're very ugly. You won't want that on your car. They're also extremely expensive compared to all these other systems we're talking about.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, they look ridiculous. Another drawback of LiDAR is that like radar and sonar, it can't see anything, so it can make out shapes much more precisely than like radar systems can, but it's still doesn't have the ability to read signs, to read lines on the road, to interpret like what is a person, what is a like post. And so
You can
that
see the
like
outline, or can
I
it?
mean it can see the outline, but I don't think it can get like as precise
Yeah,
like um
probably.
LiDAR is more precise than the other systems, like just because it's like the next generation of like send out an impulse input and measure how long it takes to get back technology. It's like just like the next generation of that. But it still can't read things, it still can't see things because it's still a sensor, it's not a camera, which is why Tesla has now shifted its self-driving computer to pretty much entirely rely on cameras all over the car. It doesn't
Mhm.
use lidar or radar anymore. It does use sonar for its backup camera, and they are removing that in the most recent models. According to Tesla, they use cameras entirely for their self-driving system, and we're going to talk about like the dangers of self-driving cars in a little bit, but that brings up some of the issues with the self-driving system with that you just relies on cameras. Now, the way that it senses depth and like sees how far things are away and like whether that's like a brick wall you're heading towards or like a car that's moving forward or I don't know, like a brick wall in the back of a truck. The way that it sees that is by having stereoscopic vision, having like two cameras on one side. It like puts it together, does the math, it figures out like how far things are away from it, and it uses machine learning and AI to interpret like millions and millions and millions of hours of driving and decisions made by real drivers, that are like handpicked from Tesla's like pool of drivers, because they collect all this data on everyone,
That
and
is
they
that sent is it like talking to like a server or the internet
yeah,
during,
yeah. So
or
all
is
the
it
data is
sent
like uploaded to a server, and then it like is trained on that. And the server is constantly being
trained on it?
yeah, yeah, which
And then it's
which
like
leads
retrained every so often, or what?
well,
Or
I
is
think
it
it's
a dynamic
constantly being
constant
it's
checking?
yeah, yeah, it's constantly being updated.
Then
And
if you lose connection to the internet, then like,
well, so the autopilot computer is built like on this trained software, but it's not constantly referencing the database. Like the software is installed locally on the autopilot computer. The way that when you talk to GPT, it goes up to the server and it like talks to it there and then figures it out. It's doing this on device for the car.
yeah.
And like one of the selling points with Teslas is their privacy. Like apparently they scrub the data and anonymize it before they train their cars on it. They also say that all data is processed on in the vehicle, like doesn't leave the vehicle. Which I'm not sure how you can have a shit ton of driving footage of car of from customers in your training data set without taking it off the vehicle. But yeah, and so Tesla's using just cameras to pilot their
Mhm.
cars. Tesla also
Interesting.
offers a variety of different kinds of autopilot. Jeremy, do you want to explain the
Yeah,
way that
so
this autopilot works?
basically autopilot is that it just like is cruise control, but it pays attention to like the surrounding vehicles. Um so it like
Like
will not,
adaptive cruise control.
yeah, adaptive cruise control basically. I mean, I don't think that's a Tesla exclusive thing. I mean, I'm not sure how exclusive the
It's in
Tesla.
almost all new cars, but
Yeah,
Tesla's is a little more advanced
okay, okay.
because it
And
does
then,
things like it steers you out of the way if you're about to crash.
oh, really? Interesting. But yeah, so
Yeah,
the other
like emergency brakes and stuff. The autopilot, which includes traffic aware cruise control and auto steer, the full self-driving, which has navigates, which has all the autopilot features plus auto park, auto lane change, summon, smart summon, which the difference between summon and smart summon is summon like is like moving your car back and forth with your phone like to get it into a tight parking spot. Smart summon is when you hold down on the button and tell it to drive to you on your own. Smart summon, even if I had it, I would never use it because I've seen
Mhm.
videos of the car like scratching itself on like the corner of things. It's like I don't know. I don't trust that. Like I'm just gonna walk to my car. It also is not does not move fast. um And then auto steer in city streets,
Car crashes.
which is in autopilot, which is full self-driving. And then stop sign traffic control, like traffic sign control, which is like, reading stop signs, dealing with pedestrians, going through lights, like turning right on red, all that stuff. It's like pretty like bold when it's which is like a good thing because there's a lot of pilot like types of um for cars that are just like so tame and timid that like they basically don't do anything. Which I think that it's pretty cool that Teslas are willing to, take a little bit of a risk in order to create a product that's actually useful.
Really? That's
And
an interesting opinion, or like that you
yeah,
have. You don't actually have like one of these Teslas, so it would probably benefit you more for them to be more timid, because then you're less likely to get hit by one as like someone as like a pedestrian crossing it.
I mean that's true, but the
Are
thing
there
is,
are there
first of
any
all,
instances of them actually hitting pedestrians? Do you know?
there's a couple. Yeah, there is. There's like a couple of high profile instances of them hitting pedestrians. But then like think about the fact that we how many instances of regular drivers are hitting pedestrians? Like I know that it's a larger sample size, but like that's higher than the amount of self-driving cars that do it.
Yeah. I mean, I totally
And
agree.
these are self-reported statistics from Tesla, so I guess take it with a grain of salt, but I'm inclined to believe them. Since they collect all this data, they like know, a lot of stuff about like how much crashes are happening. They recorded in the last quarter 5.5 million with every 5.5 million miles driven with autopilot engaged, a crash was recorded. Now, bear in mind that a lot of the time autopilot is used on highways, and highways you're less likely to crash than in like
And
city
also, you're
streets.
driving more miles.
Yeah, you're driving more miles. So like it's consider that the average for the United States for one crash being recorded is 500,000 miles driven and one crash happens. And then in Teslas in general, which are the second safest car on the market, can't remember what the first one is, but they have with
Or
1
safest.
million miles driven without autopilot engaged had one crash recorded. And these statistics like they like kind of shift around a little bit, but it stays around the 5 million miles with autopilot engaged, 1 million miles with autopilot not engaged, and 500K with average American cars.
Yeah, you probably also should factor in that people are probably a little bit on edge when the self-driving car is driving. I mean, I would be personally.
I
Like,
mean, yeah,
even
but like
though I hear these
once you've been living with it for a long time, you're gonna become complacent. So you see those videos of people sleeping in their cars and people with like those little Velcro straps that hold onto the steering wheel so you don't have to hold the steering wheel so it can literally just drive itself.
again,
Obviously that's not good. And actually I was gonna find the time to bring this up, but Tesla changed the name of full self-driving to supervised full self-driving or full self-driving with supervised in parentheses, um, because it was receiving a bunch of backlash because people weren't paying attention and crashing. I don't know. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
about the dangers.
Well, I mean, okay, so if we're gonna jump into the dangers, there's a couple of things that I want to start us off by talking about. So first of all, literally a day ago, a bunch of articles started popping up about how 956 crashes were recorded from January 2018 to August 2023, and 29 people were recorded were dead. Um, and there was 211 crashes in which the frontal plane of the Tesla struck a vehicle or object in its path. This is in quotes. Which like kind of indicates, Tesla the driver's fault. Most often these crashes were severe and resulted in 14 deaths and 49 injuries for the ones where the Tesla, the front of the vehicle, hit something else.
Wait, out of how many?
And
200 something?
211 crashes, yeah, where the frontal plane of the Tesla struck another vehicle or obstacle in the
I
path.
feel like that's gotta
Um,
be higher than, sorry to interrupt you, but like
no, you're good.
that, than like, like regular car crashes that the average person are in. Like, I mean, in my experience of all the car crashes I've been, which, I mean,
Zero or one.
well, no, I don't know if you consider them
Oh,
car
wait,
crashes, but
you
like,
were in Hannah's car when she crashed.
yeah. Oh, but actually then the person did get maybe hurt. I don't know. We didn't
He
know if
was
he,
fine. He was being dramatic.
He was like really old though. I have no idea. But yeah, a lot. I feel like a high percentage of car crashes that in humans are like fender benders or whatever, or like you're like backing into something in a parking lot. And I don't know if those are considered car crashes, but people generally aren't getting injured. And I would say it's not like a 25% chance that you're getting injured, which is,
Mhm.
it seems like these
Well,
Tesla
I don't
cars
know. I feel like this
are
isn't
scary.
the total. Well, this isn't the like total amount of crashes.
Yeah.
Like, there's more crashes happening probably than all these listed in there. This is just the crashes that happen during autopilot.
Okay.
So, like, while autopilot is engaged, and they were talking about how like people would not pay attention. And so Tesla blames this all on like the drivers. They're saying that you're supposed to have your eyes on the road. You're supposed to be ready to intervene at any moment. And like it's pretty clear that the system is not good enough that you can just like go to sleep and let it take you somewhere. But I guess people like just like use it a lot and they do pay attention, and then eventually they just are like, oh, it's so good,
Yeah.
like it can just take me, you know. And there's like a couple of instances of it. Even, you know, there was like some guy that had his insulin pump broke, and he had a heart attack, and apparently ambulance call time was 30 minutes, and he hopped in his Tesla, programmed in the hospital,
Wow, he was having
and
a heart
used F it,
attack.
yeah, literally, like while he was having a heart attack, had FSD drive him to the hospital, while he was behind the wheel, but he was in no state to drive. And it got him there in 14 minutes, and like definitely saved his life, according to him and according to the news. Which
Mm.
like prompted some backlash because obviously he was in no state to drive, so everyone's like, you shouldn't have been driving, you shouldn't have been. But it also
Seriously, people
saved
are
him
saying
like
that?
$20,000 of ambulance fees. And if I had a Tesla and I had to go to the hospital, I would be hopping in my car and telling it to drive the, you know,
Yeah.
3 minutes to the
Okay.
hospital.
I was actually like, kind of thinking before you just said this, that like, what is even the use? What is the point of like having self-driving? And it seems like you have to be paying attention like way or like as much as if you're driving. And it's just like way easier to not pay attention because like it seems like you don't have
Hmm.
to.
Well, they
But now,
say that you
actually,
have to, but like you don't.
yeah, but you do have to be paying a somewhat amount of, yeah. But anyway, I mean, now I just that I had like that like passing thought, and then now it
Yeah.
seems like there are definitely like cases in
But think
which,
about it, like if we're driving to Cape Cod and like you basically like don't have to focus on the car in front of you. You just have to kind of like hold your hand on the steering wheel and let the car drive you. Like
yeah.
that would make for a really good experience. And speaking for myself, I would definitely have YouTube on my phone playing. Like I already do this like on long drives. I probably shouldn't, and I mainly just listen, but like I already will like throw YouTube on my car mount and like MagSafe my phone up, and you know, occasionally like have a little peek, or you know,
Yeah.
put the football game on. Like
I
I
mean,
know
me and
dad
dad
does that all the
watch
time.
basketball, but
Yeah,
I
yeah. So
drive.
like the thing, like we're already doing these unsafe practices. We're already texting and driving. Sorry. Like, but like we're doing it. Everyone does it except for some people, but you know, they're just anxious. And
Or
or
they're
like
not
I don't
meant
know,
for driving.
old and responsible. I don't know. But
Yeah.
like I pretty much everyone I know does these things. And where most of the time we're fine, but like I know that when I'm on my phone while I'm driving, that I am not focused on the road, and I am, you know, 2 seconds away from like crashing the car if I'm not careful. And so,
Yeah.
you know, you have to be really like mindful. And if you have the car looking out for you, like that's gonna really help, you know,
Hmm.
you not getting in these accidents. And like it's gonna, you know, keep you in the lanes, keep you from going off the road.
Hmm.
And things like, you know, if you're driving home tipsy, which you should never do, like if you have an autopilot, that's gonna prevent a lot of like deaths of people getting behind the wheel when they shouldn't. But it will also make people feel emboldened and think they can get behind the wheel when they
So
shouldn't.
basically,
But they'll
yeah.
face the consequences. They'll still get arrested.
Uh-huh. Huh.
But
I feel
but
like it's
yeah,
a balance on like like how emboldened, like how good is it versus how like much people like try to like abuse it. But if it's
Mhm.
like good enough that you can't really abuse it, then or like you just have to have like the tiniest bit of like paying attention, then
Yeah. So
that's
they
like
actually Tesla's been talking about using so all their cars have an interior cabin camera monitor.
Mhm.
And the idea is that this will be used for their robo-taxi feature, which is coming soon. Which another thing I wanted to talk about. Elon's been teasing this robo-taxi feature. They've been saying that they're going to announce a new car in like August that is exclusively for robo-taxis, and then they're going to expand the fleet to anyone who wants to rent out their car. You can like kind of, you know how Waymo like has their own robo taxis. It's these Jaguars that are like equipped with FSD, but not from Tesla, from Waymo,
Mhm.
the company. um,
Mhm.
like those are like Tesla is going to have its own fleet of robo taxis, and you're going to be able to be like put your car into the fleet and make a little money, and then like your car is just going to be off driving people on its own, and the interior cabin will be monitored by the little pinhole camera that sits right where the sunglasses holder would be on most cars. And Tesla is talking about activating that camera um, when using FSD, so that it like will watch you and make sure that you're actually paying attention and holding onto the road. And
Yeah, yeah,
but having said
I
that,
agree.
so I don't know if you remember the hate crime against Waymo recent, like a couple of months ago. This Waymo got stuck and like literally like lit on fire and vandalized by this mob of people. I think it in and
A Waymo car was graffitied and set on fire by a mob of.
That's crazy. That car was just completely annihilated.
it
Like,
was just minding its own business.
yeah, I mean, but the thing is, like, no one feels any guilt towards like having destroyed this Waymo because like it didn't really harm anyone. Like, it's not like, oh, the poor Uber driver,
Yeah,
like now
it's
they don't
like a
have a
victimless
car
crime.
anymore. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the
So I
victim,
mean,
yeah, it's like
there's
some
also like so
like
many people
giant corporation.
protesting. There's so many people protesting Waymo. Like for instance, there's this group of people that like hate the Waymoos, and they are putting traffic cones on the nose of these cars, and they get completely just stuck because the sensors like don't know what to think when there's a cone on it. And it like just
It's
stops
funny.
until someone takes the cone off. These little things. But if you look at the video I shared,
residents never actually got a chance to have a say in this and never really consented to being used as human guinea pigs.
ABC7 has documented issues with Cruise and Waymo. Just recently, two Waymo cars stalled near the Pride Parade downtown, backing up traffic.
Like, there's still something fundamentally unsafe at moving at speed with a 2-ton metal box through the city.
Yeah, so that's just like, are they like, there's something unsafe about something moving that fast, like that heavy giant metal heavy box moving that fast in a city? That's every single car. Like,
yeah. Well, it's
and
also like you're having
are they
people on their
against
phones, like
cars? Yeah,
distracted, like angry, running red lights, like literally breaking traffic laws. Like this is what I
it,
mean by
it kind of makes sense. I mean, I'm not surprised at who the person is that is really upset about this. Like the type of, yeah,
just
but
people who are like anxious.
yeah, they're just like
Well, it's because they just don't
don't
understand.
understand how,
They
yeah,
don't try and understand like is being what
they're
is
just
like
like,
being
I
created.
would rather trust like every person like in general, like individually, than like trust some like computer programmer who who like designed this car
Well,
to
they're
not.
also like people who've never been in these cars, so they don't like if you've never like experienced a self-driving car, you're not gonna think that you're gonna have very low opinions of them because all you do is you see the like two instances where they crash or where they like
they,
have
they feel
little
like
like mess ups.
they feel like what's the word, like before like their like immediate like initial perception of them is that they're unsafe, so then they like go to the internet and then search like, oh,
Yeah.
self-driving car crashed, and then they find the like
It's
low
like
of
affirming their
yeah,
their biases.
Mhm.
And they also, I mean, like if you think about the news report, like that news report is a they're basically telling a story about like the radical anti-autonomous vehicle people. They're not telling a story about every normal person, and like general perception is not going to agree with them. And if you go out there with a microphone and like find the one person that like vandalizes self-driving cars, then you're gonna like get a person that like has crazy beliefs on like the fundamental like aspects of having a robot control a vehicle. But then if you actually think about like what the future of self-driving cars holds, like it actually is going to lead to our roads being safer. It's going to lead to traffic being less, because
Mhm.
traffic is caused by people making bad decisions that like cause gridlock. Like, one person doesn't pay attention, the person in them slows down slightly, they overcorrect and slow down a lot. It creates the snake
Yeah.
effect where everyone for the next quarter of a mile or mile is like slowed down to
Yeah.
25 miles per hour instead of going 70 miles per hour. If you have self-driving cars, they're never going to make that mistake, because they never take their eyes off the road. And
Mhm.
yeah, there's some growing pains right now, and Tesla is beta testing on real people, which is arguably unethical. I think it's ethical, but like there is an debate to be had
Mhm.
about testing beta testing something like as critical as self-driving. But how like I really think that that's how gonna be it's going to become a thing. But like also imagine if cars could communicate with each other. Imagine if every Tesla could communicate with each other, which you know, this is like a kind of a tangent, but the
Yeah.
boring tunnel in Las Vegas is like these like Elon Musk created these like this like tunnel system under Vegas. He wants to expand it all over California. And it's basically for Teslas to like really quickly like skip all the traffic and just like go at a certain speed, and to like from like one entrance to an exit. He wants to connect it to airports, and it's kind of stalled. The tunnel's not going very well. It's kind of hard to dig tunnels, and he didn't realize that. Selling the flamethrower didn't, I don't know, raise enough money or something. Um, but the idea is actually really smart, because all these cars are using their autonomous features to stay in a lane and move at 35 miles per hour, never change speeds, and like move through this tunnel and skip all the traffic. And I tell you, if I had a Tesla and I was in Las Vegas and this was available to me, I would absolutely use it instead of and skip all the traffic. Yeah, you miss the like city. I don't know. You get to look at the nice LED lights. But like the idea that cars could talk to each other is not going to be possible without self-driving. Like that, those are going to come hand in hand. And once cars start communicating with each other, that's when we're going to start having like traffic kind of be a thing of the past. And I think that's maybe what we're moving towards. But to
So
bring
interesting.
it back to, yeah, wait,
I,
did you want to
I
hear?
did not ever think about this like traffic, that like it would reduce traffic, and that like there's gonna be a point in the future where people won't even like will be like, wow, like that's like back then imagine having traffic like I
I
can't
mean, we
imagine.
waste so much time in traffic, like
Yeah.
hours and hours in traffic. And
Yeah. What's like
imagine like we can. Hmm?
what would like a comparison be to something that we now think like, I don't know, it's like having like
Like internet speed or something.
really slow internet. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Anyway, so what I was thinking of like when I don't know, it was referring to something you like, well, it
Go.
just in general, like I think that like like referring back to our last podcast, like I think that self-driving cars might be like the one type of AI that like has the least bad effects like in its final form. Like I mean, yeah, there's going to be some jobs lost, but it's generally jobs that like I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the market for like Uber drivers or whatever will be diminished, but like it's not gonna. It's I don't know if this
The
is if I'm
subsidies
like
have already expired for Uber, so like
yeah.
it's not a good business to be in. It's not sustainable. And
I
you're
don't know if
like if
I
you're
just
paying for
less
Ubers, you pay so much money now.
if I have less sympathy for like Uber drivers or like truck drivers or something, or that compared to like writers or like music makers, music like people that make, but like basically
artists.
like all these like other AIs that are like just like ballooning like crazy right now and like rapidly developing like in all these different fields um Sora and like there's this new AI that can basically produce like pretty high quality music like just with a prompt. They're cool, but I mean they're also concerning because like the market will change and like people
Mhm.
like
And they're
will be
gonna
less-
get better,
like,
better, better.
the market will be more saturated in all of these fields. So like human people who aren't like necessarily like the top will initially like not be as successful. And maybe in the end they won't. I mean, I think like in like artistic fields in general, humans will always be successful. But uh like yeah, wait. What was my I was gonna make a point,
And you're
but
just saying like like self-drive, like AI in self-driving cars is like probably the most beneficial form of
yeah.
AI that we're gonna be seeing, which is true.
But
I
also
totally agree with you there.
it's very important that we like develop this field and we don't like just be like no we can't because we're scared that right now it's like not as good and maybe like even though it actually is better, like I think we both agree that is better than humans driving, like
Yeah,
I mean kind of have like
but it's like
given
a
some like
philosophical
counter
like
yeah,
debate.
yeah. I mean, I've like kind of like given counter arguments or like played maybe a little bit of devil's advocate and been like, oh, um, maybe they're not as that good. But like it's very important that like especially like America or like we like develop this technology like and we like keep developing it and keep improving it and don't like try to like limit it because like people are like afraid of it because otherwise like another someone else is going to do it because like it's
Otherwise,
possible to
China is already doing it. I mean,
yeah some
and
yeah
there's like other bunch of other companies in like
and that's going to be
Europe.
like future technology like
Yeah.
that's the future of
Well, we're
cars.
gonna lose the race, the self-driving race, and
Yeah.
it's gonna harm our economy and just gonna set us behind. And but yeah, I wanted so circling back to Waymo, what we were talking about before. I shared another video in the chat.
That's really funny. Yeah, people
Yeah,
can
so
so control these things. Like,
yeah, so there's like kind of harmless pranks, which is funny because the guy who made this video is actually a former Tesla employee. So he's just like trolling them. Um, I just I thought that was a charming little video. And it like makes sense that it would work. It like this was like a Waymo exclusive experiment. But I
yeah.
thought it was pretty charming, especially since you can just like literally stop them and then let them go through. Even if there's someone in the car, you can like make them come to a full stop. And the only time it didn't work was in the night. I think that has to do with like the retro-reflective coating that stop signs have that is obviously not on a shirt, so you can't see it and doesn't really expect to see it. But
That's
but
interesting. I
yeah,
wonder how they'll fix that because I mean there are all these bugs like the traffic cone bug and the like stop yeah now they can like
I think they
forge
shouldn't. I think they wouldn't fix that. I
I
mean,
mean
maybe if they detect a person on the like well no, because then there could be
how
a
come it doesn't
person
work with
at the
Tesla?
stop sign.
Too expensive.
Teslas do have similar problems. Like there's a clip where it thinks that a Burger King sign is a stop sign. There's clips where like someone holding a stop sign or like wearing a stop sign costume will stop them. So yeah, I think yeah. Yep, it worked. I was just like watching the video. So yeah, so like this is just something that these systems like can't really counter because if they see a stop sign, they have to stop. And
Yeah.
you need to like really make sure that that's happening because you can't have them running stop signs. And just another point to like why driverless cars are safer than drivered cars is you're not going to see a driverless car rolling stop signs. And I tell you, pretty much every stop sign that I stop at, I roll unless it's like I didn't get there first and it's not my turn to go. And
Yeah.
especially like driving in Philly, like literally stop signs are stop suggestions in Philly. It's just like this would improve safety for so many people. And speaking of like stop signs and like safety, great segue, right? I have this next clip here, which is a Waymo and a police officer having a bit of a standoff, where being the police officer is trying to stop the traffic and the Waymo is like not knowing what to do, but it did figure it out. So
Yeah, I've also seen this clip where like a police officer stops a like self-driving car and then goes over to it and then sees that there's no one in it, and then the driverless car just drives away. I don't know if you've seen that. It
no,
just
I
like
haven't.
it
That
just
was
like
that's
keeps.
funny that,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean that's like
Maybe the one concern that I have with the like AI vehicle, like AI self-driving, is that they rely very high, like significantly on road signs, and like way more than the average, like an actual human. Like they don't have that um like additional um they don't have like that, like as much of like that, just
intuition,
like reasoning, yeah, intuition that
which
people
is
have
where
when
the machine
someone's
learning comes
driving.
in though.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, as it is right now, they really rely on needing to see road signs in order to tell them what to do, because I mean that's the easiest thing like to program, because you
Hmm.
don't have, I mean, yeah, I don't know exactly how like machine learning works. I mean, it'll get better, but like
Yeah, I mean that's the nature of machine learning. But yeah, so
but
last the I want to move on to I want to move on to the recorded crashes that have been happening with specifically Tesla and its self-driving, because Tesla is like the most widespread self-driving vehicle on the market right now. And because it's got a lot of quirks, and like you can't drive your Tesla with FSD on without intervening. I mean, Marcus Brownlee was talking about, did this video where he tried to drive the car from his home to his office, which I think is like a half an hour drive, and he had to intervene like 3 times,
mhm.
and like that so basically you can't just like let these things do their thing. That's the reason that we still have people in Teslas, and they're not like Waymos where they're like fully autonomous,
Mhm.
regardless of whether Waymos should be. Um, there's a couple of like key like high profile crashes. There's one instance of phantom braking where so this car is in a tunnel, and it just slams on the brakes, and causes this huge pile up in like on like Thanksgiving traffic. And basically in the video what happens is they think that the car thinks that something's in the road that it isn't. I would speculate that because it's in a tunnel, it like sees part of the roof of the tunnel or maybe a shadow or something and thinks that something is there. It slams on the brakes. Teslas are notorious for having this issue. Slamming on the brakes is better than not slamming on the brakes when something is actually there, which is the next video that I'm going to bring up, which is of a car um, barreling into a overturned semi that it didn't see for some reason. And the theory is that if the Tesla was equipped with lidar or radar, it would have actually detected this object in the road, instead of just I got it. Instead of just barreling into it, and the camera system failed in this instance, and also um, the reason that it like might have seen this object but not fully stopped, is because of there's like constantly things on the side of the road of highways that we go past at full speed, and so the Tesla got confused somehow, and just like slammed into this truck. It's a pretty gnarly video. The person was okay in it though, and as is everyone in the Thanksgiving video. But I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think about that actually, like that, like if it randomly decides it needs to stop for no reason, then, you know, there's people behind it. So
Yeah.
they could
And the
crash
person
it.
directly behind it didn't crash. It was just it was 2 steps back. But think about this. Think about what if all the cars were self-driving and they saw it stop, and like the
Mhm.
reason that they had this pileup, maybe it was that the brakes were not as good in the other cars and it wasn't the person's fault. But I would
Mhm.
imagine that they weren't ready to stop because
Yeah,
they weren't expecting to stop, as
yeah,
like it's not their fault. Like I don't want to suggest that, but if it was a driverless car, it would have just seen the vehicle stop and it would have stopped.
yeah.
Which does kind of prove the point that roads are safer with less drivers. But
Let's try.
all of
Yeah,
that is disproven because the no driver actually caused this to begin with. And if your car slams on the brakes, like you can put your foot on the pedal, but like that's not like intervening and steering out of the way of something or like slamming on the brakes yourself. You know, it's like not the same. It's kind of something that's a little harder to like weasel your way out of as an intervener, I think. Because you're not, you know, like you're not thinking about like, oh, will I need to slam on the
what am I supposed to
accelerator?
do? Yeah, yeah. You're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like prepared for that as like the monitor of the self-driving car. Yeah. But
yeah,
I do
exactly,
see your
exactly.
point where like, yeah, if they were all self-driving, they would have stopped. That's a good point.
Which
But
like
not there yet.
it's kind of hard to say that like when we're watching a video of self-driving causing an accident, but
Yeah.
yeah, I do think that that is something that's definitely worth considering. Tesla crashing into the truck, which this is a little more of an egregious instance, but this is also like this is not common. I mean, there's plenty of times that drivers slam into cars like full speed slam into things that are not moving and where they should have like stopped. There's so many gnats in this room. They should have like braked. There's so many like we're looking
Wow.
at one instance. I know, and that video is pretty brutal. And that caused like investigations, and you know, Tesla blames the driver, says they should have been ready to apply the brakes, and they did have adequate time to see this overturned truck and apply the brakes. So yeah, also the
How come we
driver's
couldn't
fault, but
detect
the
that?
car should have stopped. I don't know. I mean, there's a theory that it thought it was an overpass shadow. It was the shadow of an overpass. There's another theory that it thinks it's the sky because it's white and reflective. So it like didn't really see it, and the sun might have been glinting off of it. There's also another theory that it could have been thought it was something on the side of the road or like a sign that's stretching over the road, which
Mhm.
is something that which is like a big object that you go under at full speed. So the machine learning would have like just like zoomed through it. It should have detected it, especially once it got closer. I don't understand why it didn't even try to brake, but also like this is from when was this video from? I mean,
3 years ago.
2020. I mean, I think that that video does show that it needs improving and it needs
Yeah.
some serious like focus, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's a tough. It's a like
Yeah. I mean, computers, you know, like there's all like computers
like
can
nothing's perfect.
sometimes like there's cosmic rays, you know, like
Oh
cosmic
yeah.
rays
I mean, the
constantly
bit
like
flipping.
flying around. They can like hit a bit, flip it. So there need to be like redundancy.
Well,
And
even
I mean,
the
this,
Priuses.
yeah, like generally when they make them, they account for that.
In
So
like
I'm not
2007,
aware
Priuses had
of
this
that.
glitch where cosmic rays would flip a bit and turn and enable the accelerator, like just turn it on, and you literally couldn't turn off the accelerator. Thank God it was a Prius and they're slow. But like they would, there's these really scary 911 calls of people like
Wow.
you know being like, I'm going like 130 miles per hour, like through red lights, like I can't stop the car. They like put their foot all the way into the brake,
Wow.
and just like crazy stuff. And this caused a huge recall. I think it was like 2011. Hey, I don't know. I'll
Our
fact check
Prius,
it, put it on the
that
screen.
happened to our Prius.
I hope not. um, but yeah, there's a recall. They have fixed it with a software update now. But like it just like goes to show that, even, that's like an instance of not a self-driving car having one of these issues where it's just like just happens. It's just like really unexpected things happen and they can lead to tragic results.
Yeah.
But yeah, at the end of the day, it is supervised full self-driving. It is not full self-driving anymore. Tesla changed the name.
Which I
And
think is slightly false advertising, and maybe they shouldn't advertise it like that so that people like don't treat it like that. But then again, I mean, it's good marketing, so I see why.
Yeah.
And then the more
yeah. I mean, it's also regulation. They want to like kind of not be cracked down on. They want to survive. So they're
Yeah.
calling it supervised full self-driving. They keep on updating. They've had a recall that was
Oh.
fixed with a forced software update. And they just have been working on improving like the the system. And it's just going to get better and better and better, I think. But yeah, and then like just real quick, they so Elon Musk lowered the price of full self-driving. It's now you can do a monthly subscription, $99 a month, and you can get full self-driving. So if you want to go on a road trip, you can just get full self-driving for that road trip.
You have
And
to
then you
pay
can
for the
cancel your
software.
subscription. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you do have to pay for the software. You can also pay one time, which I believe it's like $6,000 for the full, or it's $8,000 and then $6,000 for like the partial. $8,000 for the full. The price was reduced from $12,000 and $8,000, I think.
There's no additional
For
hardware.
the
is there?
No, it's all already there. So Tesla does this thing where they lease cars and they don't actually let you buy out your lease. So they lease a car without full self-driving, and then they add full self-driving to it. Then they sell it as a used car and they say this car is worth this much money, and they pretty much sell it for the same price as they would have sold that same car without the full self-driving. And full self-driving actually is allowing Tesla to make so much money. It has so much like value in this product, which is why they're focusing so heavily on it, because they don't actually have to spend any money to upgrade the car itself. They can just get this in-app purchase for and literally get like $6,000, like $8,000, and it stays with the vehicle for life, and you can like say it has a certain value, but which is why they're really heavily focusing on it. So it's only going to be we're seeing more and more and more. But yeah, and then I just want to move on and really quick talk about the other players in the market. To wrap up, there's a couple other players that we didn't mention. We have Mercedes has a recently got a patent where whenever their cars are in self-driving, they have a different light, a different colored light. It's like this blue light that turns on so that everyone around you knows you're in full self-driving. I will say I would not want that on my car because I just don't. I think that people are gonna like mess with you and like cut you
Yeah.
off and like try and
Put
get
a
the car
cone
to
on you.
react.
On your
Yeah,
dashboard.
put a code on me while I'm driving. Yeah. So I think that's a terrible idea. But Mercedes has been like one of the biggest researchers in full self-driving. And they're slowly implementing it into their cars. They have these like assistive technologies that like, keep you in your lane. They have a little bit of auto steer. They have like emergency braking. They're newer cars. But they don't have full self-driving yet. Mustang, the Mach-E, has I can't remember what it's called, but they have a self-driving feature that keeps you in the lane. It like dynamically adjusts and it will steer for you, and it will like look out for things and like auto brake, emergency brake, and apparently works really well. But it only works on designated highways. And then there's like Audi. Audi plans on putting full self-driving in all of its like vehicles in like 10-20 years. They have even some concept cars that come without a steering wheel. Steering wheel pops out if you ever want it, but the idea is the car would drive itself without a steering wheel, and it's like this little room. It's this crazy like $10 million car, and Audi makes these insane concepts that will absolutely never be made, but like it shows kind of their vision and like where they want to go with things. Do you have anything to add to that?
No, but that's super cool. I mean, like it kind of reminds me of what I've heard like described as like the future of cars, where they're not going to look like cars anymore. They're just going to be like boxes or like rooms,
Yeah.
not
Yeah, I mean,
just
that's like, it looks like a room.
like movie theater type things. They're gonna be, yeah, like it's like round, like you're all facing the middle. You know, I don't know. Cool, but
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, okay, I just a quick correction. So yeah, Audi does have a concept car without a steering wheel, but it's Mercedes that has the like crazy looking concept car
Oh.
with that I was thinking about, but Audi has one that
Mhm.
fits in that explanation too. Um yeah, but yeah, so I I think we talked about the sociological societal impacts of self-driving cars. I mean, people hate electric cars. They're getting like it's like kind of like cool as a conservative to like hate electric cars. You see it all over Instagram and like every time they say they have no soul, the cars, because they don't make a sound. And part of the theory is that like the government is forcing you to like electric cars, so that's why there's so much resistance to them, and it's become this like culture war type of thing, and um then you also have the people like that guy that was talking about the Waymos that hates Waymos. He was definitely not a conservative, but this is
Yeah.
just like skeptics that don't understand what really is being proposed, and just a bunch of crazy people. um but the world is moving in the direction of electric cars. No matter who has anything to say about it, other than governmental figures who can obviously regulate it into oblivion, but they're
Mhm.
probably not going to unless maybe
Because
Donald Trump
they
comes
want the
around.
market. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Donald.
they want the economy. It's good for economy. It's good for, it's good for us. Like
Gonna keep
it's gonna make our
America
lives better.
in the like forefront of, you know, being the
Yeah.
technological superpower or whatever.
But anyway, but yeah, I mean that's all I got for today.
Yeah.
I can't wait to be in a self-driving car. I hope to have one soon.
You're gonna buy one?
Um, I'm gonna buy an electric car, but not necessarily a self-driving car. That's not. I don't really care if it has self-driving or not, because if I buy a car, I want to drive it.
Yeah,
But
true.
it would be nice if it had self-driving, and if I get a Tesla, then I can always upgrade to self-driving or pay $99 a month and get it for not that much, to be honest. But yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for joining
You're
me,
welcome.
Jeremy. I know
Thanks
you
for
had a lot to
having
do.
me, Justin. Yeah,
Um, I really enjoyed our discussion.
I enjoyed it as well. It
It
was
went a
very.
little over. I'm sorry that
Oh,
we
it's
talked
okay.
for so long, but
It's
I
okay.
enjoyed talking to you. Um,
Happy to talk to you. I appreciate
yeah,
you
yeah.
on the podcast. What an
Um,
honor,
well, of course. That's all we got this week for the Brothers Talk Tech
brothers.
podcast.
BT.
Yeah, yeah, BTT. Hopefully we get to do another get together sometime. But otherwise, have a great rest of your life. If this is the last episode ever, we'll see. All right,
Yeah.
take care.
But